This tutorial will show you how to make a very basic DIY sketchbook using simple materials. You'll need a piece of cardstock or a larger piece of paper that's thicker than your pages. You'll need at least 5 pages of whatever material you would like to work on, whether it's drawing paper, watercolor paper, your choice. You need masking tape, then you're going to need a large rubber band or a stapler. If you love learning about art, hit that subscribe button so you never miss one of my weekly art tutorials. Starting out, I have 5 pages of sketch paper and a bigger piece of cardstock that you're first going to fold in half. Before you do this, make sure that your pages and the sketchbook cover are the same size or close to the same size. You can also do this with cardboard, you can do it with matte paper. I'm just using cardstock because it's what I have on hand in my classroom. I'm using basic drawing paper, but you could get fancy and do watercolor paper, charcoal paper, Bristol board, or a whole combination, or even just do copy paper. It depends on what you're going for. Take all of the sections and fold all of them together in half. There's no need to fold them individually. The beauty of this technique is you can add pages anytime by folding more paper and adding it to it, or even using multiple rubber bands to create different sets of signatures. More on that later. Then you're going to need something to reinforce the spine of your sketchbook. Now this is a true do-it-yourself, not fancy, rudimentary sketchbook cover. So I'm using blue masking tape just because I like the color. You can certainly use your basic beige masking tape for this, and I'm going to tape the spine on both sides, folding over to reinforce it. Now, the more you reinforce your spine, the better. So I'm going to repeat these steps, and I'm going to put another strip of masking tape on the inside and the outside. Just like me, if you get it crooked, just take it off. That's the beauty of using artist tape, is it's meant to kind of be taken off paper, so it shouldn't rip your cardstock or whatever thick surface that you are using. So I'm going to repeat my steps here as I said and just double reinforce. This sketchbook my students will be using this whole semester, and because I know that this is do-it-yourself, it's not a sketchbook you'd buy from like a factory or a nice art supply store, I know that I need to reinforce it so that it can live in our art room for the whole semester. Once I have 2 sections of tape on each side, just fold over the extra section that you have and you'll have even more reinforced paper. Then you're going to fold the whole thing and you're going to use your hand or ruler, something to really make sure that that tape bends. And if it's hard to fold, that's a good sign. That means that your spine is going to be protected when we add our rubber band later. Okay, so now we have the cover. I like how the colors work together. And again, use whatever materials you have on hand. Time to add our paper. Now, a folded section of paper, I used 5 pages here. You could staple this on the reinforced spine that you made. That is totally an option, and if you know exactly how many pages you want, go ahead and staple now and you'll have a sketchbook that lasts a long time. I'm using these giant rubber bands that I found on Amazon. I'll put the link below so that you can see these rubber bands, and I like them because they're thick, they're colorful, and the size of them works with the paper that I'm using. The next step is so simple. Take the rubber band against the spine and the center fold of your pages. Why I like using the rubber band instead of just the stapler is if I want to add more pages, I can simply fold a couple and put them as the center fold, or these 5 pages folded together is called a signature. So if you've ever done bookbinding, the word signature isn't like what you sign your name to, it's the set of pages. So let's say you're teaching a year-long class or you're doing this at home and you want to add a whole bunch of pages, fold another set, which is your signature, add a second rubber band, put through the center fold there, and then you've doubled the size of your sketchbook. So for this tutorial, I'm going to also be adding a sketchbook cover. The Zentangle sketchbook cover link above will talk you through how I did this, and my students just completed this assignment in my first days of school and they did an amazing job. So it was really fun to see these come together. I'm using duct tape brand packing tape, and again, all my materials will be listed in the description box. And you're going to cut, for me it took I think 4 long pieces to go all the way across. See my fail right here? I was terrified that I messed it up. I did pull the tape and it didn't destroy my sketchbook cover, but I did have some students that used a colorful pen. It did smudge their pen. So I would say measure and cut your 4 or 5 strips of tape first. Press it down really smooth, and then you're gonna open it, flip the extra tape over into the cover to make sure that it's really nice and secure. That way, if there's a mess happening at your table, if you're sketching in your kitchen, if you spill paint on your sketchbook cover, it doesn't destroy it. And this is an optional step, but I love having my students create sketchbook covers as a getting to know you activity. It's a really great way to spend the first week of school, and it personalizes a sketchbook that we'll be using each day in class. I'm going to speed this up a little bit because I'm repeating my steps. It's just the tape, smooth it, fold it over. And the steps are easy, but if you're really particular about things being straight and things being smooth, take your time because your tape definitely will fight you. It has a mind of its own. It wants to stick to absolutely everything. It's just doing its job. And so I'm just going to use these pieces of tape to kind of laminate my cover. That's another option. You could laminate these, but I like my students to do the work for themselves. I don't want to be spending time after school standing by the laminator. I have like 160 students, but if you're doing this at home or you have access to one and you're just making one, absolutely that's a great option too. One option that I'm hoping to try out and level up is to actually do book binding and take a needle and sew the pages to a sketchbook cover. I wanted to keep things really basic just because I'm starting a brand new school year at a brand new school. So I'm keeping this like really simple, really DIY, could use, really simple materials. But I'm going to try this again using a needle to sew and bind my pages in. So heads up for that. So here it is, my do-it-yourself sketchbook, really basic with simple materials that you can add pages to as the semester goes. Or if you're doing this at home and you just draw all day long, you can add pages to it as well. So now this sketchbook is ready to fill with drawings, with brainstorming, notes about famous artists, ready for an awesome adventure. Thank you so much for sticking around and making art with me. And if you're interested in what my students are up to, check out my Instagram at thatartteacher_Machado. Also check out my website, thatartteacher.com, for full-length lesson plans, student examples, and anything else that goes on in my classroom.